Morning. First things first, I want to just say a big thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Got a little notification of the day, 3,000 of you have subscribed, which amazes me and I can't really get my head around. 3 years since I did my first video, which was just a little mess about thing I did for my mates, about England match. And since then, it's just grown and grown, which is thanks to you sharing it and commenting and liking the videos and everything else, and obviously subscribing. Absolutely fantastic. I can't thank you enough for that. I never would have thought when I first started doing it that anyone would listen, probably other than me family, and they probably watched it on mute just to make me feel better that I'd got a view. So to have 3,000 regular subscribers, absolutely brilliant. So thanks for all your help and support with that. Of course, after a happy start to the video, I suppose I better move on to a slightly more downbeat and talk about the game. Obviously, we travelled to the Hawthorns to play West Brom side ahead of us in the table, and they were hoping to pull away from us. We were hoping to try and get in there and close that gap. Tony Mowbray in charge of West Brom, a fantastic result the other week, scoring 5 goals, back at the Hawthorns after a 15-year gap. And back in football again after his recent health trouble, so good to see him back in action, a proper football man. And what a passion you've got to have got for a game. Yeah, let's be honest, a lot of people would have been like, you know what, have I really got time for this hassle with everything's going on? So obviously a big passion for the game. Wednesday went in there, I think in decent mode. I think, there was a few rumours in the week that Barry Bannon was injured, which has turned out to be the truth. Still not got to the bottom of what it was. Danny Rule said after it could be anything between 1 week and 4 or 5 weeks, so still don't know what the actual injury is, but big loss to Wednesday, especially at this critical time for the season. So, Bannon, one enforced change. Let's have a look at how the rest of the team lined up. So, Wednesday went with a 4-3-3 with Beadle in goal, a back four of Valerie, Ehekwe, Bernard and Lowe, a midfield three of Charles, Chalobah and Armstrong making his full debut, and up front, Windass, Smith and Jedi Gassama. Now let's be honest, West Brom dominated ball in first half. There's no other way of getting round that, After a sort of cagey first 5 minutes when both teams trying to find out a little bit about each other, after that, West Brom started to dominate the ball. I weren't particularly upset by that or on edge about that, because that's how Wednesday have set up away from home this season, and it's a way of playing on counter-attack that's actually got most of our best results. It's actually at home when we'd expected to break teams down that we've actually struggled. Away from home, we've been compact, got teams on counter, and we've picked up some fantastic results. So although we weren't having a lot of the ball, that didn't really concern me too much in the opening stages. On 15 minutes, applause broke out all around the Hawthorns. West Brom and Wednesday fans all clapping as the scoreboard showed a big picture of Harvey Wilgoose, a young Sheffield United fan who was tragically stabbed at school this week. It was nice to see that both sets of players, even though the game was still going ahead, were also joining in and clapping. There was a sort of momentary pause. Everybody had a sort of moment of condolence there, and it was nice to see that Wednesday and West Brom fans had sort of got behind this moment, because Sheffield is a city united in grief with something like this, all rivalries aside. And it's a tragedy that's really rocked the city and upset everybody. A young lad having his life taken in what should be one of the safest environments there can be for a child. Tensions are obviously high as well in the city, and I don't want to go on about this too much, but what I would do is reiterate what the family and the police have said, which is please don't spread any information online that might affect any of the legal proceedings, because the last thing anybody wants is for things that happen online to prejudice a case and legal proceedings which might cost the family the justice that they're looking for. So please don't spread anything. It's a terrible moment for the city, really. As I said, nice though to see that Wednesday United fans and the West Brom supporters, they'd all joined in a moment of condolence for the family and for the city. Back to the game. As I said, West Brom dominating the ball. They were getting a little bit of joy down the right hand side. Obviously, when's gone with a 4-3-3, and I thought, it was Furlong, the right full back, he was getting on and joining in with the attack a lot. But Wednesday were really compact, and I thought they got a good shape at the back. We did try and press occasionally, but I thought it sort of broke down when we did, and we didn't really have that intensity that we usually have. And on the few occasions that we got the ball, there wasn't that usual zip. We didn't really have that fizz to the play. We were missing that little bit of spark. We were missing Barry Bannon. Let's be honest about it, But we've got to get used to this. I keep saying this, he's not going to last forever. We're going to have to find a way of playing without him. And today I think he showed what we missed when we got possession of the ball. And also in terms of the way that we squeezed up the pitch. But certainly, dropping deep, we were doing okay, got a decent shape. Their attacks, they weren't anything really clear cut, I don't think they caused us that many problems in terms of shots on goal. I can think of a couple. Armstrong had one that went probably 10 foot wide. And the lad Grant got in on the left-hand side. That was a deflected pass that Beadle did well to sort of put around post. Overall, I don't really think they created anything clear cut. But the problem is, of course, that how long can you hang on? You know what I mean? They got a series of corners, 4 or 5, by half time it could have been 7 or 8 corners. And although we've lost the game today, I do want to focus on a few positive things, and one of the positive things from today was how well we defended the corners. Now, it weren't always clear, sometimes it was a little bit scrappy, but when we look back to the beginning of the season, we were absolutely conceding goals for fun. Every time the opposition got a corner or a wide free kick, everybody were like that, because we knew it was going to end up in the back of our net. They've forced a hell of a lot of corners today, West Brom, and I thought we've really stood up and dealt with it, to be honest with you. I think part of that, one of the reasons towards that is heck, we're back in the team. And I know a lot of people, if we want to be pushing on, we'll need better players than him and this and that other, and I get that. But equally, you could say that about probably every position on pitch. But he's come in, old-fashioned, and he's won so many headers today. In fact, look at the time stats. They've all won headers today. They really have won their headers. 17 headed clearances today out of our own box. In fact, we could just have a quick look at the stats, how many there were. 29 clearances that we've made today. 17 headed clearances. 56% of the aerial duels won. Really good stats from Wednesday in terms of the defending. We weren't getting anywhere near this at the beginning of the season. We've really sort of switched on to those things there. I know, the goal in the last minute. You're probably always going to concede if you concede the number we do, but overall, as a percentage, the number of corners we've defended today, I think in the main we've done very well. But I will come on to that corner later on. Grant had an opportunity that got knocked into the box, and he took a sort of wild slash at it, put it 10 yards over the bar, and it's one of them about calmness. This is something I've talked about with Ugbo. It's one of them sort of things that you've got to relax. You've really got to relax in these situations, and if he lets that ball drop another 6 inches, he probably gets that on target, Grant, but goes for it early, flashes it over the bar. Hegham, I think they call him, centre half, he got up good header, and Beadle made a fantastic save from that. They were turning the screw as we were going into the break, and it's just as we were going into the break that absolute icing on cake, you know what I mean? Bernard goes down. Been talking all season, probably from pre-season, about the need for Wednesday to get defensive reinforcements in at centre half. The pressure on that was even further when we lost Vermeil, who started this season in the best form of his Wednesday career, looked absolutely solid. He ruled out long term. Iorfa's got this injury, and although he's training and back on grass, that's the phrase they use, we look really short back there. I was hoping we could get something done in the window. Danny said there were one or two, but he wasn't convinced, which sort of takes us back to that whole situation we had with Carlos and Van Aken coming in, who he clearly didn't want, he wanted Arlie Dean and who other lad, another Birmingham one, I forget his name, I think it was Egan at the time, or at Brentford, but nevertheless, on Wednesday come out with this thing, we've looked at 300 centre halves and we've got this kid, Van Aken, who, terrific passer at ball, never been a centre half, and clearly managing didn't want him. So when Danny's come out and said, we've looked at a few, but I weren't actually sure on it. I didn't want to bring someone in if I'm not sure on him. So there's part of me that's good, because you don't want a repeat of the Van Aken situation where you spend, well, the fee never came out, but somewhere between 700 grand and 2.5 million quid, depending on whose word you take for it. But either way, you don't want to be getting lumbered with a player and losing money on a player that you don't want. So, however, it has left us short. We've got the young Japanese lad in now, the left fullback. Well, I think he's probably going to be playing sooner than Danny probably expected to use him, because Bernard turned, good defending, shouldered lad, turned, went down, you knew straight away. And I was concerned because it's always the innocuous ones. Two players go slamming into a 50-50, they roll about a bit, but it's just a bit of a bang. When you see a player go down and there's not really anybody around him, you always know it's more serious. He went off, limped off eventually, came back on, still limping. I know someone says, are you alright, son? Yeah, I'll get you a try. No, it's something like that. And then he goes back down again, probably 2 minutes later, again, nobody near him. He's getting booed by West Brom fans, which, to be honest, I thought were poor form, and then he has to come off and he's getting wankered and booed as he walks round. And if somebody goes down milking it or trying to win a penalty or a free kick and, they're giving it that one to the crowd, I could understand that. But when somebody's gone down with nobody around him and then has to be substituted, and it's clearly a serious injury, a lad's walking off crying into his shirt, I think that's poor form, to be honest with you, to be booing that and chanting that. Poor form. So Marvin Johnson's come off, and we sort of got to a back five. Then he's sort of wing back-ish, and Lowe's tucked in a little bit inside there with Hekwe. And I thought second half Wednesday looked a bit more. The second half, thought it was a more even game. Thought they were still crisper on the ball. West Brom, they look, good going forward. But Wednesday had got these little breaks and opportunities to get in and around box, that we'd not really had in first half. And that's the game plan that we've seen all season. Can we keep it tight up to 60 minutes and then try and be a little bit more expressive and nick something? So I thought we were on course to do that again. Perhaps not in terms of the result, but in terms of performance, because that's what we do away from home. And it was a plan that nearly worked perfectly. Wednesday get the ball in the back of the net. Lovely ball down the left-hand side from Marvin Johnson. Jeddy Gassama's timed his run to perfection. Kyle Bartley, obviously, bang in line with him. Gets down left-hand side, tucks in, scores, then flag. If you think he's off, put flag up. This fanning about thing, I know. And maybe I've got to be fairer to linesmen, because they're obviously instructed to do this sort of thing, aren't they?
On the issue of delaying flags, by the way, we do not say to the assistants, delay the flag on every offside.
Oh. Right. Well, you might want to tell fucking linesman then, Howard. it is a joke. It is a joke. If he thinks he's off, get your bleeding flag up. But to wait till goal's gone in and then go, yeah, they were off. What? What? I mean, and I've heard people now say, no, it's for a run at the second phase of play when Windass unsights the goalkeeper. You're not unsighting. Look where he is when the ball is struck. It's a nonsense. But anyway, I'm not complaining about the offside as such. If he wants to flag. You know, you get goals disallowed. That's football. Some decisions are right, some decisions are wrong. Whatever. But even if he's wrong, flag as soon as you see it. Don't let's go through rigmarole. Oh, they've scored now. Well, actually, I do think he might have been off over there 10 minutes ago. Do you know what I mean? Trying not to be mardy. Danny makes a couple of changes. Armstrong and Chalabar come off. Valentin and Ingleson come on. A little bit of a change of shape. Obviously, Danny's wanting to make impactful substitutions. So Paul goes to the right hand side, he brings that little bit of pace, doesn't he, out there. And Wednesday sort of changed shape, more of a sort of 4-2-3-1. Ingleson in there, a bit more of a physical presence. When he likes to put himself about, give Charles a bit of support in there. And obviously it allows Windass to drop into that sort of number 10 position and float around and try and get things going. And I thought it worked. I thought they actually made a good impact, and I thought it was probably Wednesday's best spell in the game. An end-to-end championship game in that second half, and I thought those changes were effective in making that happen. But of course then West Brom score. And they score because Tony Mowbray's also made a couple of little changes, but the subtle changes made is dropping Armstrong into his own little sort of number 10 position and dropping off Wednesday a little bit into that pocket of space behind our midfield. Because I thought we'd dealt with him, to be honest, in open play before that. You know, I mean, he's a terrific championship striker, but I thought we'd done really well. And then the goal, they break down the left-hand side. He makes a run, as I said, from the hiding position, as I'd call it, diagonal run into the box. But he's still got work to do when that cross comes in. It's an absolutely fantastic finish. You know, we can talk about Wednesday's defending and why ain't midfielder picked him up, or why ain't one at centre-half's gone out to him or whatever, but it's a great finish. He's got a lot of work to do there. The way he opens his body and angles himself and sort of cushions the ball in. It's like holding a tea tray up and a kid chucks a tennis ball at you and you just deflect it. Do you know what I mean? He's used his body to deflect ball across. It's a super finish. Absolutely gutting for Wednesday during our best spell at game. But he's a 1 in 3 striker. You know, what did he get in this division last year? Was it 25 goals? That's what you're up against, you know. West Brom's up in playoffs. And just like Wednesday and all other teams in and around playoffs, they've wanted to strengthen. They've got a good team. The one area where they're a little bit short, up front. And they've been able to go out and get a striker who's, over his career, you know, scores 1 goal every 3 games, you know. That's what you've got to do. And a very good signing in this window for them, and one that I suspect will keep them up there. Wednesday then bring on Callum Patterson, big fan of Pato, puts himself about. We know he can be a bit of a beast, but actually he created a really great opportunity for Ugbo with a lovely, deft, classy bit of play. It was a long ball in, lovely chest into Ugbo's path. Honestly, he's probably made a better pass with his chest there than he sometimes does with his feet, but it's an absolutely brilliant bit of play. Cushions it into Ugbo, who does everything right. Left foot shot, on target. And Wildsmith, obviously the ex-Wednesday lad, makes a really, really good save. That's about 90 minutes on clock. And you're thinking, well, brilliant opportunity. Not took it, that's probably that. And then a minute later, we do score. And it is Pato. Ball in, like I say, he puts himself about. He's one of them players. It drops down to him just outside 6-yard box. Sweeps a leg at it. Probably should score with first attempt, to be perfectly honest with you, left foot. Defender does enough. And then he puts rebound in. It's absolute scenes. not over 90 minutes, but certainly over the second half, I thought that were fair. I thought 1-1, were probably fair over the second half, and I thought, great, this is a fantastic point we've earned here against a very good team. And of course then, because of all the injury times and bits added on, they score nearly 10 minutes into injury time at the end. It's heart-wrenching because it's such a good second half performance from Wednesday. We've really come at it at trap second half and really, gone at it hammer and tongs with them and tried to go toe-to-toe with them. Really good substitutions. And then that just sucks life out of you, and a goal like that. It's disappointing, as I said, because the first half they had so many corners, we defended them all really well. And then we concede from what annoys me is it's not even a great take. The lads scuffed it a bit, but it's dropped in. And I've seen Shea Charles getting a lot of stick, he's got to get to the ball first and this sort of that, which of course he has got to. You've got to have that zone about you, haven't you? You've got to have that intensity and rap. But equally, I don't think he's expecting that, man, because he starts off on edge at D, and he's marked. He's got a marker, and it's Marvin Johnson at edge at box. Now, I'm not going to slate Marv too much because I don't know how they're setting up to defend these corners. I don't know if it's zonal and he's, been told if he drifts off, pass him on. Maybe he has been told to do that. If he hasn't, it's terrible because he just stands and goes like that, And yeah, Charles should be a bit sharper, but that it's a free run. And I like man to man anyway, and then there's no debate then, is there? When it's man to man, it's your man. What were you doing? It's really annoyed me that it's a really poor goal. But it's poor even before that because it starts with our throwing and we just give it away cheaply before that, and it's like 97 minutes on clock. Just look after the ball. Just look after the ball. It's like I said, it's a frustrating goal in three ways, but it's most frustrating because it's undone all of the fantastic work they did in that second half. So we've lost. Then there's a bit of a melee after the game. And that Malumbi, whoever he's called, he scored a winner, so obviously he's buzzing, but then he goes into the group when everybody's shaking hands and, starts getting a bit lippy and shoving folks about. There's a bit of a melee, and then obviously he started on someone who's a lot bigger than him. And Carl Bartley comes in to stick up for his teammate and shove Ingleson away, and he's got red card. And although that Malumbi's been a bit of a knobhead, there's got to be a place in game for knobheads. You've got to have players for opposition who always think, oh God, that shithouse is playing for them today. That's what creates little stories and dramas, isn't it, when fixtures come around and teams come to your place and you go to their place and there might be a little bit of something left over from a previous game. That's all part and parcel, so I don't mind the fact that he's a bit of a wind-up or a knob or whatever. But I tell you who I would be pissed off, though, if it were me, if I were Kyle Bartley, because kid's gone in there, started a ruckus, Bartley's gone in to protect him, and I know getting sent off. Where's that little rat? He skipped off down the tunnel and left him to it. Honestly, if I'm Kyle Bartley, I've got him pinned up in the dressing room and it's like, you are paying my fine, because he's going to miss 3 games now, isn't he? You are paying my fine, knobhead, because he started it all and then sneaked off. Tony Mowbray said he's a quirky little player. Like I said, I don't mind him. You've got to have shithouses in game and characters like that. That's what makes it more of a drama. But like I said, if I'm Kyle Bartley, I'm absolutely spitting feathers with that knobhead. I would be. I'll bet you he's giving a right round of fucks in dressing room. Now, as it is, despite that, obviously West Brom cementing a place higher up there into the playoff positions, and Wednesday still out there, but amazingly still in touching distance. West Brom in 5th, 47 points, getting a little bit of a lead there now over Blackburn and Middlesbrough. But amazingly, Wednesday still only 3 points out of it themselves. The worrying thing, of course, is that Middlesbrough, Bristol City, they've got games in hand. And of course, Wednesday have now picked up 2 dreadful injuries right down the spine of the team, you know, and I always talk about this, if you've got a good spine, you've got a chance. But we're now down to 1 half-fit centre-half, which is Hegwe, who's had his own injury problems this season and only just come back into the team. We've got Otugbeo, but obviously he's a young lad. So now, it looks like one at fullbacks is going to have to come in and play centre-half again like we were doing earlier in the season. And of course, Barry Bannon missing in the middle, whether it's for a week or a month or whatever. Huge miss, and we've seen that today. That little lack of a creative spark and that lack of energy in the speed that we close down. You know, I like Armstrong, I like Chalobah, I like Charles. All 3 of them, really good players. But in terms of that spark and that little bit of zip, we really miss Barry Bannon. Some big games coming up on all now, tough games. Swansea, Coventry. I mean, Swansea's going to be tough in the sense that they're probably going to pass the ball across their back 4 for 90 minutes. I mean, that will be a tough watch. Coventry, and then of course Burnley. So, tough games, and picked up some injuries at an absolutely terrible, terrible time. So, we'll see how we get on, but we are still in touching distance. One thing we've took out of today's game now, overall, is it shows the value of having a really good winder. They've won a game today. They've managed to bring in a striker in the one area where they probably were missing. We've been desperate for a centre-half, not managed to get one over that line, and now, as I said in the week, we're only an injury away from looking short back there, and sadly that's a bit of a prophetic statement because it's come to fruition now. We've got his work cut out. But after a bit of reflection, we're ahead of schedule anyway, aren't we? We are a little bit ahead of schedule. 15th before the season, I think anybody would have took that really. It's just the closer you get, you start thinking, if only. But ifs, buts and maybes don't get you off that line, do they?